When people first started watching Gold Rush on the Discovery Channel, they quickly noticed Parker Schnabel, a young miner with big dreams and an even bigger work ethic. Unlike many of the older miners on the show, Parker was just a teenager when he joined the series, but he carried himself with unusual confidence and determination. Viewers admired him because he never seemed afraid of taking risks, even when those risks could cost millions of dollars. However, behind his growing fame and success, many people began to whisper warnings about Parker. Some claimed he was too reckless, while others believed his obsession with mining would destroy his personal life. These warnings often sounded dramatic, but as time went on, Parker's own words and actions showed that there was truth behind them. Fans loved him because he was different, straightforward, hardworking, and brutally honest, but that same honesty sometimes created controversy. People wondered whether Parker was building a future for himself or setting himself up for a breakdown. The story of Parker Schnabel is not just about gold. It's also about the sacrifices, struggles, and lessons that come with chasing success in one of the toughest jobs in the world. Before we dive deeper into Parker's journey, it's important to understand how Gold Rush became such a worldwide phenomenon. The show started under the name Gold Rush, Alaska, in 2010, focusing on inexperienced miners who wanted to strike it rich during tough economic times. In the first season, many of the miners had little or no background in gold mining, and viewers were drawn to the drama of watching ordinary men face extreme challenges in the harsh Alaskan wilderness. Equipment failures, financial setbacks, and constant pressure created tension that kept audiences hooked. Over time, the show expanded beyond Alaska to places like the Yukon in Canada, Guyana, Oregon, and Colorado. Each season introduced new faces, bigger machines, and larger risks, while also showing the personal struggles of the miners. By the time Parker Schnabel became a main figure on the show, Gold Rush was already one of Discovery Channel's most successful reality series. Ratings skyrocketed, and viewers tuned in not just for the gold, but for the human stories of ambition, rivalry, failure, and triumph. Against this backdrop, Parker rose from being a teenager working his grandfather's claim to becoming one of the most successful miners in the history of the show. Parker Schnabel's journey on Gold Rush began when he was still a teenager, working at his grandfather, John Schnabel's Big Nugget mine. Unlike others who struggled to find direction, Parker showed discipline and leadership from a young age. By the time he was just 18 years old, he was already making decisions that would affect millions of dollars worth of operations. Fans admired his courage, but critics warned that someone so young could easily make costly mistakes. Despite the doubts, Parker proved himself season after season, eventually setting records by pulling in thousands of ounces of gold, worth millions of dollars. He was not afraid to challenge older, more experienced miners, and his rivalry with Todd Hoffman became one of the show's highlights. Viewers could see that Parker wasn't motivated by fame or luxury. He admitted in interviews that he didn't care about expensive possessions, houses, or cars. Instead, he poured his money back into his mining operations, constantly upgrading equipment and pushing his crew to work harder. His dedication paid off with record-breaking hauls, but it also revealed the first sign of danger. Parker's relentless focus on work left little room for anything else in his life. As Parker's fame and fortune grew, people around him began to worry about how mining was affecting his personal life. In interviews, Parker often admitted that he didn't really have time for relationships, hobbies, or even a permanent home. At one point, he revealed that he was living on a friend's couch in Los Angeles, despite being a millionaire. He also confessed that his lifestyle made dating nearly impossible because most people couldn't understand his unusual job. These comments made fans realize that Parker's success came with heavy sacrifices. While he loved his family deeply and often credited his grandfather and father for teaching him discipline, he admitted he did not want his future children to go into mining. That statement shocked many fans because it showed how tough and painful the mining life could be, even for someone as successful as Parker. Critics argued that he was pushing himself too hard and risking burnout at a young age. Supporters, on the other hand, admired his honesty and respected the fact that he put his crew and business above personal luxury. But the warnings continued. Could Parker really keep living this way without it all crashing down? While Gold Rush often highlights the exciting moments of striking gold, Parker's behind-the-scenes reality was far more stressful. Each season, he faced enormous pressure to meet gold targets that sometimes reached 7,000 or 8,000 ounces. To achieve these goals, Parker invested millions of dollars into heavy equipment, new land, and crew wages. When things went wrong, like machinery breaking down, frozen grounds slowing operations, or unexpected financial challenges, the responsibility always fell on his shoulders. At one point, he even had to sell equipment, raising concerns about whether he was running out of money. These struggles revealed just how risky the gold mining business really was. No matter how experienced Parker became, one bad season could wipe out years of profit. This constant pressure also affected his crew, who often felt the weight of Parker's high expectations. Some fans warned that his drive for success might eventually push people away or lead him to make reckless choices. Still, Parker rarely complained, and he continued to prove that he could handle the challenges, though not without scars along the way. Part of what made Parker Schnabel both loved and criticized was his honesty. He never tried to pretend that mining was glamorous. In one interview, he joked that his job sounded like something out of a dystopian movie, living in the woods, sleeping in a trailer, and washing dirt for tiny specks of gold. He also admitted that most years, his grandfather's mine wasn't even profitable, and he questioned whether mining was a sustainable career in the modern world. His blunt comments sometimes worried fans and producers, because they seemed to suggest that gold rush itself might not last forever. Still, many admired Parker for refusing to sugarcoat the reality of mining. He also shared emotional memories, like spending summers with his grandfather, who taught him life lessons over simple dinners. These personal stories showed Parker's softer side, reminding fans that beneath the tough miner was a young man shaped by family and tradition. However, when he spoke about not wanting to pass mining down to his kids, some critics accused him of being ungrateful to the legacy that made him famous. This balance between honesty and controversy kept Parker in the spotlight and added to the mystery of his future. As the seasons went on, Parker continued to break records and push himself to new limits, but questions about his future grew louder. At just 30 years old, he had already spent half his life mining on television, and he admitted that he wasn't sure where he would be in the next decade. Unlike many reality TV stars, Parker didn't seem interested in chasing fame or living a celebrity lifestyle. Instead, he focused on building businesses with his father and exploring new opportunities beyond gold mining. This raised even more warnings from fans. Would Parker eventually walk away from Gold Rush entirely? Would his honesty and unwillingness to glamorize mining hurt the show's popularity? For now, Parker continues to mine and lead one of the most successful crews in Gold Rush history, but he makes it clear that he values freedom, family, and new experiences more than money. Whether he remains on television or chooses another path, Parker Schnabel's story is already one of the most unique in reality TV, a tale of ambition, sacrifice, and the heavy price of success. In the end, the warnings about Parker Schnabel were not about scandals or bad behavior, but about the cost of living such an intense life. People warned that his youth, his obsession with work, and his willingness to sacrifice personal happiness for success could eventually catch up with him. And in many ways, those warnings were right. Parker himself admitted that he didn't want his children to live the same life he did, showing just how much he understands the difficulties of his journey. Yet, despite the risks and struggles, Parker remains one of the most respected and successful figures in Gold Rush. His story is a reminder that success is never free, it always comes with sacrifices. Fans continue to debate whether Parker's choices are wise or extreme. But one thing is clear, without his dedication, Gold Rush would not be the same. The show, the gold, and the controversies may come and go, but Parker Schnabel has already secured his place in television history, and as viewers, we can only watch, listen, and wonder what the next chapter of his life will bring. One of the most fascinating parts of Parker Schnabel's story is the way he manages his crew. From the beginning, Parker had to learn leadership the hard way. Imagine being just 18 years old and suddenly in charge of older, more experienced workers who didn't always want to take orders from someone so young. At first, many doubted him, thinking he was too inexperienced to manage a full mining operation. But Parker quickly proved that he wasn't afraid to make tough decisions, even when they made him unpopular. He pushed his team hard, demanding long hours and maximum effort, but he also worked alongside them to show he wasn't just a boss giving orders. Over time, this leadership style earned him respect, though it also created friction. Some crew members left because they couldn't handle the pressure, while others stayed and became part of Parker's trusted inner circle. His management style has always been direct, sometimes even harsh, but it reflects his commitment to success. The warnings people gave about Parker being too tough or burning out his team still echo today. But for those who stuck with him, the rewards were undeniable. Parker built a team capable of pulling record-breaking amounts of gold out of the ground, and in the mining world, results speak louder than anything else. Behind Parker's success, there has always been the shadow of his grandfather, John. John wasn't just a miner, he was a mentor, a role model, and the person who shaped Parker's approach to life. Viewers loved watching their relationship on Gold Rush, especially in the early seasons when John was still alive. He taught Parker that mining was not only about gold, but also about discipline, patience, and responsibility. John's calm wisdom balanced Parker's fiery determination, creating some of the most heartfelt moments in the show. When John passed away in 2016, Parker was deeply affected, and fans worried about how he would continue without that guiding presence. In interviews, Parker often speaks about how his grandfather's lessons still guide him today. But some warnings became louder after John's death. Without his grandfather's influence, would Parker lose balance in his life? Many fans believe Parker's relentless work ethic and refusal to slow down are both a tribute to John and a sign that he's trying too hard to live up to his grandfather's legacy. Either way, John Schnabel's role in Parker's life explains why he works so hard and why quitting has never been an option for him. People often assume that because Parker pulls millions of dollars worth of gold from the ground, he must be living a stress-free life of wealth. But the truth is very different. Gold mining is one of the riskiest businesses in the world, and Parker's financial situation is often far more complicated than fans realize. Every season, he invests millions in equipment, fuel, crew salaries, and new claims. A single mistake or even bad weather can destroy an entire year's work. At times, Parker has admitted that he's had to sell equipment or take huge financial risks just to keep operations going. The constant pressure of chasing gold targets weighing in the thousands of ounces means he rarely gets a chance to relax. Unlike other reality stars who use fame to sell merchandise or live a luxury lifestyle, Parker puts almost everything back into mining. Critics warn that this financial stress could eventually catch up to him, leaving him with little to show for years of hard work. Supporters, however, argue that Parker's willingness to risk everything is exactly what makes him successful. But one thing is clear: behind the piles of gold seen on TV are endless sleepless nights and decisions that could make or break his entire career. A big reason Gold Rush became so popular was the rivalry between miners, and Parker's most famous rival was Todd Hoffman. Their clashes weren't just about gold, they represented two very different approaches to mining. Todd often relied on big dreams and faith, while Parker relied on planning, hard work, and cold logic. Fans loved watching their confrontations, and it quickly became clear that Parker wasn't afraid to speak his mind, even if it made him seem arrogant. Some viewers criticized him for being too blunt or disrespectful, while others admired his honesty and refusal to tolerate laziness. These rivalries added drama to the show, but also fueled the warnings about Parker's personality. Could someone so competitive ever find peace? Could he build friendships outside of mining, or was he doomed to always live in conflict? Parker's strong personality made him one of the show's most compelling characters, but it also meant he was constantly surrounded by controversy. Whether people loved him or hated him, they could never ignore him, and that is exactly why he became the face of Gold Rush. While most fans only see Parker on Gold Rush, his life off camera is equally interesting and often surprising. For example, despite being a millionaire, he has admitted that he doesn't own a big house or a collection of fancy cars. In fact, there were times when he lived in small apartments or even on friends' couches, because he didn't care about material possessions. Parker has said many times that money doesn't motivate him. Instead, he values freedom and new experiences. This unusual lifestyle shocked many fans who expected him to live like a typical celebrity. It also raised new warnings. If Parker doesn't plan for his future carefully, will he end up with nothing after years of mining? On the other hand, some admire him for not falling into the trap of chasing wealth for the sake of wealth. Instead, he spends his money on his business, his family, and his adventures. He has traveled to different countries, invested in side projects with his father, and explored life beyond the mining camps. These choices show a side of Parker that fans don't always see on TV, a man searching for meaning beyond gold. As Gold Rush continues to air new seasons, many fans wonder how long Parker Schnabel will stay on the show. After all, he has already spent more than a decade mining on television, and he's achieved almost everything a miner could dream of. In interviews, he has admitted that he doesn't know if he wants to do this for the rest of his life. Some think he might eventually move into different types of businesses, while others believe he could even step away from television completely. The warnings people gave years ago that his obsession with mining might not last forever are now more relevant than ever. Parker has also said that he doesn't want his kids to follow in his footsteps, which makes fans wonder if he is already thinking about a different kind of future. Still, as long as he remains on Gold Rush, the show will continue to thrive. Parker has become the central figure of the series, and without him, it's hard to imagine Gold Rush being the same. His future remains uncertain, but one thing is sure: whatever he decides, Parker Schnabel has already built a legacy that will last far beyond television. The story of Parker Schnabel carries powerful lessons not just for fans of Gold Rush, but for anyone chasing big dreams. His life shows that success requires sacrifice, discipline, and a willingness to take risks. But it also shows the heavy cost of ambition, loneliness, stress, and constant pressure. The warnings people gave about Parker were not meant to bring him down, but to remind him, and all of us, that balance is just as important as hard work. Parker's honesty about his struggles makes him relatable. Even though his life is so different from most people's, he proves that even with fame and fortune, happiness is not guaranteed. At the same time, his determination and work ethic inspire millions of viewers around the world. Whether you agree with his choices or not, there is no denying that Parker Schnabel represents the spirit of perseverance in one of the toughest industries on earth. His story is still being written, but already it has become a legend that future miners and fans will talk about for years to come.